All right, we're going to try something a little bit different this week. We've got spider cam going on. So I've got one of those tripods that wrap around from that perspective, and it's actually hanging on the roof of the garage. So if I look a little bit weird, a little bit like Commonwealth picker, I do apologise in advance. But what I'm going to talk about today is basically go a little bit against the grain. I'm going to probably piss off a lot of people. It's not my intention, but before you get your pitchforks and torches and all these different things, I want you to look at this holistically. I want you to think about things from the angle that I'm coming from. Do not think that reselling is something that is easy, something you can romanticize, something you could do or throw your full-time job into, because you're actually probably going to fail. So statistics, and I did run them probably about 6 months ago or something like that. I don't think they've changed too much. But it was around about 80% of small businesses fail. I would go stronger, or I would go higher in the reselling space in the sense of saying, hey, well, look, it's probably closer to 95% of people that fail in the first 5 years from reselling. So I did say last week, or one of my many videos that I did with a talking head, was that I was heavily involved in Lego. So what I would do is I would go to Toys R Us at the time, or I'd go to Big W, a lot of retail arbitrage, or even Lego directly, and buy Lego sets, put them on eBay, and sit and forget, and they would most likely sell within 24 hours, 48 hours from that perspective. I didn't evolve, or I didn't think, and I probably did have a bit of an ego back then as well, because I was quite successful in that space, and I have said it before, in the sense of saying, hey, I'm selling heaps of Lego, I've got no issues with that. A new competitor came on the scene. I really, kind of poo-pooed them, didn't worry too much about them. They obliterated me. So what I want to try and do is we'll talk a little bit about it today as to what I see reselling is, how I would go forward about it, and go from that perspective. So before we get into today's video, before you hit the dislike button, and before you put any comments down, diagnosed with schizophrenia again. I did have a medical professional jump into the chat last week and tell me I was a schizophrenic. So it was good. I didn't have to go see a psychiatrist. I didn't have to go see a doctor, be diagnosed with that. So hopefully you can send me a script through and I can get some medication in that respect. But all jokes aside, I'm not schizophrenic. It probably explains a lot actually, but unfortunately not. So I do talk to myself in my head, but I think that's a side effect of ADHD opposed to anything else. When I do take my medication, the voices go silent. So that's always a plus. So jokes aside. So what I'm going to do today is basically give you a little bit of a rundown. I have been watching content. I watch a lot of content, right? So I think I have spoken previously about the amount of content that I watch. I would be hard pressed trying to find someone that watches more content about YouTube and reselling and all these different things, business building, podcasts, and this is not just limited to reselling, this is limited to business in general, than me. Like, I literally probably watch 10, 15 hours, AirPod in, watch it through the course of the day when I'm working, all those different things. I like the background noise. I like getting different ideas, like how the market's going, like how my niche is going, what's going on in my niche, which is Skylanders, if you haven't already worked out, and all these different things, and board games. Don't forget the board games. You really need to be doing that. So if you're a small business, you do not turn off. I do see people, quote YouTube resellers, they quote, Gary V, they quote all these different people in the space that they shouldn't be really listening to, especially at the very start of their journey, right? And this is not a slight at anyone. I'm not trying to take swipes at people in the reselling space or on YouTube or telling you exactly how to run your business or do all these different things. This is, I suppose, life according to Josh. And by all means, take it, leave it. I do not particularly care. I am more than happy to engage with any comments in the comment section, talking about logical arguments, logical stances, logical things. If you put in nonsensical comments, I'm just going to pretend you're a moron and probably treat you as such, right? So if you do have a logical argument for one way or another, or if you don't particularly agree with me and you have a reason as to why you don't agree with me, or you do agree with me, but you don't think I took it too far, let me know in the comment section below. Or otherwise, if you don't want to do that, just put your favourite Pokemon. Mine's Ghastly, so by all means, put your favourite Pokemon in, let me know. But what I want to talk about first is Skylanders, right? So I did see a comment on someone's video probably a couple of days ago where I suppose they were alluding to me because so pretty much everything I take is more of a swipe on me, right? So that's only a side effect of when my pills run off. All these things go through my head, overanalyze everything, but that to me is a skill as well. From that perspective, I never turn off from my business. I don't look at it from a reselling business, I look at it as a small business. You need to get into that mindset if you aren't already. So, basically saying, look, Skylanders, for example, the reason why I tell you not to get into Skylanders, is it's very competitive. There may not be a market to support, in the sense that the buyers to support that. If you do look at the Skylander market as much as I do, quite heavily. So I normally jump home from work. I get up in the morning at 5 a.m. I start work at 8. So I spend 2.5 hours, listing, packaging, looking at different aspects, and all these different things. Then when I get home, I'll probably do 6 hours on top of that as well. So I finish at about 4:35, come home and do another 6 hours. So I'm spending a considerable amount of time on eBay. For credibility's sake, I'll flick up my eBay details here. So you're more than welcome to go to my store and check it out. I'm not someone that just started last week and spruiking courses or spruiking channel memberships or spruiking Patreons and Facebook and buy me a coffee and all those different things. I don't have any of that. This kind of video, this kind of content is purely intrinsically, right? Not extrinsic. Extrinsic means I'm doing it for money. I get paid $6 American, about $10 Australian at the very maximum for my videos. I'm just trying to tell you how I see it. It's been selling in the reselling space for quite a long time. I didn't jump in COVID. I've been selling probably early 2000s, I think 2004, 2005, very start. Arcade boards, brought them in, got really heavily, what I was talking about a little bit earlier about the Lego, about 2014. Then started the Octopus account, I think it's 2020, 2021. You can probably see where the details from that perspective. And you can also see how many items I've sold since then. So you can kind of get an indication of that I'm not just someone that's angry all the time and sits in front of a camera and tries to bring people down or pretend I'm better than everyone else for all those different things. I genuinely care about people. And I've said previous times on the podcast, I do not want to see you get scammed. I don't want to see you fall into a trap where you think when you watch these people that are very charismatic or very perky or look like they've got everything going on, where underneath they're probably on fire and have no idea what's going on from that perspective. Go to people that have a general business sense, right? So by all means, don't absorb reselling content such as mine. By all means, do it as entertainment purposes, but don't do it for making business decisions. But what I would say is that really look at the market with Skylanders, right? So by all means, if you want to jump into Skylanders, I don't particularly care. What I expect, if you want to go to that perspective, and this is the reason why I tell people don't go into Skylanders, is because 9 out of 10 listings on eBay are complete garbage. They don't know what the characters are. There was one last week, and I don't think I mentioned it, that I reached out to someone and said, hey, look, this particular character isn't who you think it is. You're potentially opening yourself up for a 9 ad or a negative feedback. Just, and I was polite. I said, look, I don't generally do this, but I thought you should know. Because he had a $2 character listed at $40, and that particular character, if it was the one that he was selling, goes for about $55. Long story short, he wrote back to me saying I must be fun at parties, which is probably right. Well, Uncle Wayno agrees with him because I shared the screenshot with Wayno. But that is something that I'm contending with on a regular basis. Why should I care about those different things? Because they're in my market, right? So they are selling to my customers. If people like that are running, a business with no fucking idea, and I apologise for my language, they are hurting the niche in entirety, right? So if people are scamming or if they have no idea if they're selling broken characters, I've seen a listing for 20, 30 characters the other day for $150, which to me, I would probably sell them about maybe the $40 for that amount from what it is. They basically said, look at the photo and work out who it is. Those characters with heads missing, those characters with all these different things. They were untested, so they're really charging 3 times the rate as what I'm charging for characters that I've tested. They're complete and they're in pristine condition. They're selling garbage for 3 times the amount untested. So these are the different things that, I'm quite possessive of my niche. The simple fact is that those people will eventually come in, work out that it's not easy as it sounds or as charismatic as it sounds. Then they'll go then they'll dump all their stock, which is perfectly fine. I normally pick up the pieces and go from that perspective, but it could potentially turn buyers off the Skylander market, right? So in the sense of saying, hey, look, if they just think that everyone's doing this subpar effort, they're selling grunge or they're selling crap and all these different things, they're going to go somewhere else. There's not really places in Australia that you can go get Skylanders other than pretty much going to like a game shop, like a mum and pop game shop, or CEX, which I don't recommend, or eBay for Australia. However, like I said before, a lot of my Skylanders go over to Canada. They could be buying Skylanders from America, they could be buying Skylanders from their own country, they could be buying Skylanders from England, all these different places. So I don't particularly want to burn my customer base by bringing in sellers that aren't as invested as I am into that market. Likewise, that I wouldn't go into their market if they're selling clothes or they're selling board games or whatever they want to sell, where they know everything back to front, then start selling subpar products, because that will hurt that market from that perspective as well. And these are the things you need to look at from that perspective. And by all means, like I do not care if you want to sell Skylanders for half the price I do. As all I ask is that you're better than me, right? Be better than me. Go, all right, cool, his photos are crap, his listings are crap, or what's he doing right? What can I do better? So that's what you should be realistically looking at. You shouldn't be jumping on a category because you watch someone on YouTube talk about it. You watch someone, put up a sold comp for $1,000 for a certain character that they've only come across once. Then jump into that category head first, then really have no idea what's going on. What I normally tell people to do is reach out to me at disgruntledgames.com.au, octo@disgruntledgames.com.au. Sell me your Skylanders. Let me know what you see. If you see them in the thrift shop, say, hey, look, I found this big case of Skylanders. If I buy them for $50, would you be interested? And I was like, hey, if you can buy them for $50, I'll give you $100. I am literally one of the people that pay up for Skylanders in my stock, right? I will basically discount any broken ones. So obviously, if you come with me with a whole stack of ones that have got heads missing, all those different things, I'll probably laugh at you and tell you to go away. However, like I say, if you come to me and say, hey, look, I've come across this at the thrift store, be honest with me. I will give you a fair market price, right? So realistically, that's what I want to talk about with Skylanders. I'm not trying to dissuade people out of that category. I'm not telling people where not to get them. So basically, go look at thrift stores, all these different places. Be very mindful is that I pay, like I said, I'll sell a majority of these characters for $1.99 plus post, right? Thrift stores might have them for $4 or $5 a piece. You are not going to make any money. Like, I do not care what you think, what you say. There's a good chance that the Vinnies and Salvos and every other thrift store watch people like myself that talk primarily about niches and talk about these different things to sell on eBay. They go cherry pick out the $1,000 characters and they'll put it on an auction on eBay. You won't come across those in store. So, like I said, reach out to me, send me an Instagram message, send me a text message, send me whatever you want to do from that perspective. Say, hey, I come across these at Salvos for $50. Do you think it's worth it? And I will say, hey, no, it's not worth it. It's worth probably $20. Or yes, grab it. I'll give you $100 right now. You don't have to think about listing them, photographing them, testing them, all those different things. That's how you build a customer base. That's how you probably make money in reselling, to tell you the truth. Realistically, I think if I was to have my time again, I would be a seller to resellers, like a picker, and I hate the term picker because it sounds so dirty. But like I said, it's from my my weird ways of looking at things. But if I could source jeans, or if I could source clothes for $2 or $3, I'd honestly sell them to Brad and Jazz for $5, $6 a piece, or whatever we agreement came to, and skim off the top and go from that perspective. That is and obviously I know it's wholesale, but that is probably how you're going to make money in reselling. You really, if I was going to be brutally honest, the people that make money in reselling are the ones that sell to resellers. That's probably, you could probably take that away to the bank. If you can find a product or a service that you can sell to resellers, such as a Facebook group or a Discord or a ruler that measures clothes, that's where you're probably going to make your money across. Actual reselling, probably not. It's a lot harder than you think it is. So what I'm going to do today, before I wrap it up, I really, really, really want you to think about what the cost of reselling is, right? So if you are watching YouTube channels, if you are watching resellers, if you're watching people that are always smiling and happy and charismatic and they're bubbly and bouncing off the walls and all these different things, it's not that I'm not, I'm just trying to be real, right? In the sense of saying, hey, look, you really, really, really need to work out how hard it is for reselling, right? You cannot will things into existence by just smiling and joining a Discord group or joining a Facebook group and thinking, Jay, look, I've done my commitment in the sense I've done that. Wait for the cash to come through. I think I may have mentioned, I've taken 2 takes of this video, may have mentioned a bit earlier that where I believe 95% of resellers fail. I could probably look at my Instagram. Now I follow about 88 people on my Instagram account. I could probably tell you off the bat 5 people, just by looking at their Instagram stories, that will have either stopped reselling in the next 12 months, probably most likely the next 6 months, or will basically disappear. I can, case in point, there was a couple of people that reached out to me earlier on. So we had Madman, which is Carl, which was fantastic. It was nice. Great guy. I had a couple of conversations with him. He disappeared into the middle of the night. He didn't realise how hard it was. I'm not slighting him in the slightest, in the sense of saying you really, really, really need to know. It's not like a Gary V, run to the garage sale, pick up a coffee cup, and you're going to make millions and millions of dollars. The nightmare flippers, 2 guys which I thought were phenomenal. They were Ghostface and Jason basically sat at a table talking about different things. Very, very close to my heart with wearing a costume and all these different things. The anonymousness of it, I loved it, and I really wish they continued in some capacity. I had conversations with them as well, and he said to me that he jumped on the reselling train because he watched a certain YouTuber that was selling DVDs quite heavily. He went to the op shop, what we call in Australia, the thrift store, and just did an arm sweep of the DVDs that this particular reseller said. And what it came out to be is that that particular reseller may have already told 15, 20,000 other people as well, depending on his view count, right? Those 15,000, 20,000 people were actually looking for those same DVDs. So where a DVD may have gone for $100, $200, $300, whatever it was, it's probably worth $1 now. Look at DVDs, stop in DVDs, There's a reason why I have probably about 10 DVDs and probably 10 VHS, right? Because that market, to me, and I know Uncle Wayno will probably disagree, or other people will disagree. To me, I cannot source the high value DVDs. I do not know what I'm looking for, and nor do I care to look or learn that category. They do not interest me in the slightest. If you do things from my perspective, and this might be just me, being a bit ADHD and a bit unhinged and schizophrenic. If you're doing something purely for the extrinsic value, so that you're doing it purely for money, you've probably got a higher rate of failure. I was selling clothes. I quit my full-time job a couple of years ago, and I did mention this before. I jumped on the clothing train in the sense of saying, hey, look, clothes are fantastic, let's buy clothes. I bought jeans and jeans and jeans and jeans. Was doing quite well. Then I wasn't. My average buy price was about $4 to $6 for Levi jeans, for Pure Western, Armani jeans, Wrangler, all the ones you should be looking at in their bolos, by the way, weren't much anymore, but when I was doing it, Pure Western, definitely look out for Pure Western. You can tell by they've got big white stitches along the side of the jeans. They're ladies' jeans. Anyway, getting back to that, it obliterated me. I hated photographing jeans. I hated measuring jeans. I hated photographing shirts. I hated photographing jumpers and all those different things. I didn't find it intrinsically interesting, and my business suffered as such. And that's what I'm saying is that I failed in that. And failing's not a bad thing. Basically, either scoop up all the marbles and go move on to something else you enjoy. Personally, I didn't think I would like Skylanders. I'm more of a collector in the sense of saying that's where I think it transfers across the Skylanders. And board games, I quite like board games. I don't like playing them. I kind of like looking at things. I'm very visually stimulated in the sense of saying, I know it's a bit of a shit fight at the moment, but when I come into the garage and I see all these nicely lined up, and my OCD is quite happy, and it's not at the moment. Not the slightest, because it's like a complete, fight because of Christmas, and I won't say what I was going to say. But, that's why I suppose I would be somewhat more successful in those fields, because I quite enjoy board games. I quite enjoy Skylanders. I'm not selling jeans. I'm not selling clothes. I'm not selling DVDs. I'm not selling VHS. I'm not selling knitting needles. I don't know, because I don't enjoy that. And that's not to say that you don't enjoy that. If you enjoy, taking photos of jeans, if you're taking photos of knitting needles, if you enjoy taking photos of anything else, do that, because you'll probably find you be more successful in that category. And another thing is people come to me and basically say, hey, look, how do you get so many Skylanders? I don't source from op shops. And I'm probably going to do a New Year's resolution for 2025. I'm going to try and limit the amount of times I walk into an op shop less than 12, because the reason behind that is because there's a monthly church op shop in Canberra that I go to. I normally visit another one of the resellers that watch me. God help her. And basically we talk and we get along quite well. I normally catch up with her maybe twice or three times a year when we cross paths in that perspective. It's also an opportunity for me to support the op shop. I normally drop $5-10 or something like that. More often than not, I walk out with completely nothing, because it's not stuff that I particularly like. But that's not to say that I won't drop them $10 if I go there with my cousin or, like I said, the other reseller in town that we talk to. So, like I said, I don't want to. I'm going to steer away from Vinnie's. I'm going to steer away from salvos and all these different things, because that is not part of my business model anymore. And quite honestly, I don't think my business could run as it's, and I use words inverted commas, successfully as it is now. And I am trending upwards phenomenally, because I'm enjoying the stuff that I'm listing. I actually get up in the morning wanting to, get up and spend an extra time listing and, sourcing and learning about those different products, learning about new buzzwords, learning about keywords, all these different things, But when I was doing clothes, I would sleep in. I hate sleeping in. I can't sleep in past 5 o'clock. And I would sleep in until about 7:30, 8 o'clock when I was working for myself, to the point where I had to take the kids to school, drop the kids off at school. Then I would do everything but list, for the simple fact is I didn't want to. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't want to do it. I would go thrifting and have clothes, bundling up everywhere. But I didn't enjoy it. But like I was saying, now that I'm sourcing stuff that I am enjoying, on my own terms, it's coming to me, which is infinitely easier. Please, if you are getting to the point where you are becoming serious with reselling, strongly suggest stay out of the thrift stores. Have the mechanism in place where the stock's coming to you. I don't particularly care if you have a distributor. I don't particularly care if you have a means of bringing it to you. I can't stress enough, it is infinitely easier to have a variation listing where I get stock coming into me 3 or 4 days a week. I just change a number, it is done. Like, literally, it takes me an hour a day from that perspective, and it is really freeing me up from that perspective, giving me an opportunity to learn about board games and learn about all these different things. I've got no depth of perception to basically make them more attractive to my buyers from that perspective. So before I wrap up, and I know I'm dribbling, and I know I'm probably going to get 918 dislikes in this video, and everyone's going to leave these comments about I'm all over the place, and dyslexic and schizophrenic and ADHD, which I do have. So you can put that in there. But what I want to do is basically, if you are looking at reselling, if you are looking at starting reselling, all these different things, I had this conversation with my 7-year-old daughter. So I went and picked up a book. This is a game, but it's not a book, right? This, definitely keep an eye out for this. This is a bollo. So someone tells me I don't tell people bollos for some reason. If you want to be spoon-fed, you might as well jump into that 95% now. But this is Zombicide. It's the presidential box, brand new and sale. I sold it for $200 Australian. So plus express post. I said this to my 7-year-old. So we went in earlier. What was this? A cat walking past. We're not allowed to have cats outside. Hypothetically, my daughter and I went and picked up a book. She's 7, and I said to her, I said, look, hey, she's been testing my Skylanders. I think I said in a previous video, I don't want to test the Skylanders. So she sits next to me and punches them through and obviously tests them first. Once she tests them, I look at them and basically discard them from that perspective. So if there's any discrepancies, pieces missing, or they're broken, I'm not looking at that first. I'm basically seeing if they're working, then they're getting to that stage, not the other way around. So like I was saying, is that she tests them for me. I give her $20 to every 100 Skylanders she does, and she's fleecing me. It's the biggest cost of my business at the moment, my 7-year-old. So what I said to her is like, hey, look, everything to her at the moment is Robux, which is Roblox currency, and plush toys, not Squishmallows, but something that she's picking up. So she said, look, hey, if I went and picked up this book, once again, it's not a book, it's a board game, how much money am I going to get? I said, well, the comps on eBay, you're probably looking at about $100. We paid $10 for this book. It's artwork for an anime. I said, look, I'll put it up for $100. You mightn't get $100. You might get $20. You might get $5. She won't do that. I wouldn't be that much of a prick to her. But I said, look, you really need to take into consideration what you buy is not a guaranteed return. And all she heard was, how much Robux am I getting? How much plush toys am I getting? But these are the things that you need to look at from a reseller. So if it, like I said, if a 7-year-old can, understand it without cracking the sads and dropping a bottom lip and, cracking the shits at me for some reason, for just telling things how it is, I'm sure you can do it as well. But like I was saying, is that you make the money on the purchase, which a lot of people say. However, you don't get that money probably till about 6 months, 8 months, 12 months later, and probably even longer if you're a brand new reseller. Me personally, I'm trying to source things that sell within 2 weeks. I'm not very successful at that. I'm probably about a 40% way through that. So in the sense of, if I'm buying board games, I'll look at them very heavily and do comps and see, and we're looking at the time of the year, right? So we're currently in Q4, so they are moving quite quickly. I'm more than happy to take a chance from that perspective. I pay up for things. I just got home from driving 30 minutes in one direction and 30 minutes on the way home to buy a whole bunch of Pokemon games that I paid $600 for. If you had said that to me back in 2014, you're going to drop $600 on 6 Pokemon games, I'd be like, no, I just want to spend $3 at the thrift shop, or something along that. It's not going to happen, right? So you're never going to come across Pokemon in the thrift shop. You're basically looking at it from that perspective. So I'm not going to make copious amounts of money on that. And the reason why I bought it for, and I don't think I've mentioned this before, I've actually opened up a side account in my business banking, in a side account where I'm trying to fund a trip purely by reselling to Japan, right? So this is a side project. So under the octopus umbrella, I've got obviously the stuff that I'm selling for the business, and I've also got stuff identified for Japan. The reason why I haven't created a new eBay store for the Japan stuff, I use custom SKU to identify what it is because me personally, I think that eBay favors traffic to established sellers and sellers that have a higher click-through rate, have a higher sales history in the sense of feedback. I do have a pufferfish account. It's got about 76 feedback, and I haven't sold anything in 12 months on there. So if I had diverted all my Japan stuff to there, it'd probably be still sitting there, and my bank account would be at the $50 that I've probably started at. It's currently about, it was just nudging $3,000 in about 6 weeks. So it's gone up there quite quickly by virtue of buying stuff that has a very high sell-through rate. Just constantly, flicking the money from that perspective. I did pull out that $600 for the Pokemon games I just said. I'll probably inject back in probably $1,000 after fees and postage and all those different things back into the Japan account, and also bought a metric shit ton of Dungeons and Dragon books, which I did show to Aussie thrifters a little bit early in the week because I'm. As much as I like board games, I know Brad's talked about Warhammer and Dungeons and Dragons before and all those different things. I've sold a lot of Dungeons and Dragons books before, but I haven't. I'm very hesitant to drop $500 on a whole bunch of books, which I just wanted his opinion or his reassurance I was making the right decision, right? So by all means, reach out to resellers, reach out to other people. And I did mention to Tori in a conversation I had earlier in the week, by all means, before you go to op shop, if you stop doing an arm sweep of things, and this is not directed at Tori, this is directed at everyone. Ring up someone create network. And I said to Tori, by all means, ring me up. I'll give you my mobile number and ring me up and say, hey, look, I'm looking at this pair of Levi jeans for $7. What do you think? And take me a photo of it. Mate, did you see the hole in the back or the hole in the crutch or the zipper's missing or something along the lines of that? So you're looking at it from a very, kind of the endorphins aren't going for that other person. They're thinking a little bit more straight from that perspective. So do that. Start thinking outside the box. Start building on your networks. By all means, join these Facebook groups. Join these Discord groups. Join anything that will help you. However, treat them in the sense of saying, hey, look, I want to get especially paid groups, if they're just Discord groups where you are in a free community, you're helping each other and you go from that perspective. As long as you're doing your work, and that's the biggest thing about reselling. If you are paying for paid Facebook groups, I don't particularly care. By all means, choose your own adventure. I do not care in the slightest. I can't stress enough. But make sure you are getting the return on investment out of that Facebook group. Make connections, make networks. Get the information you want to do. For example, if Skylanders, I was in a paid group, for example, and I was someone that was a Skylanders subject matter expert. Someone might go, hey, look, Josh, I want to drain your brain of everything relating to Skylanders. And go from that perspective, they disappear. Pay your $50 or whatever it is a month, get as much knowledge as you can, then piss off and then basically pop in and out. From that perspective, just as you need those top-ups for your knowledge and all those different things. Don't consistently pay for things you're not using. Going back to what I was saying earlier is that I think 1 Foot Flipper did a video probably about a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, about there's a paid Facebook group where the person running that Facebook group was, I'm not too sure if they still are, absent. And people were still paying $40, $50 a month for a service that they weren't getting. So by all means, like I said, do not treat it as a gym membership where you just basically pay for something religiously without using because it just sounded good at the moment, you can't bother cancelling it. Have a plan, get in what you need, get out, and go from that perspective. But that's enough rambling for me today. By all means, like I said, if you want to get this, well, if you got this far, thank you. But like I was saying, it's just really, really, really do your own research. Know that the cards are stacked against you, and also that you can't really will this stuff into existence by just having happy thoughts and high fives and all those different things. Hard work, knowledge, and research is probably what's going to make you more competitive than other people, and go from that perspective. But thank you very much if you got this far. Please comment, like, share, comment, and subscribe. All those different things. We'll go that way. See ya.